Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of Scott B Gaming. My name is Scott, I'll be your host. Today for the very first episode we will be looking at the game TEW 2013. More specifically we'll be looking at the Londonverse. And now the Londonverse is a mod that I've been making since I think it was the latter part of 2011 I originally started working on the database. It's come a long way, I've had peaks and troughs but stuck through it, had some help from some good people such as the likes of M Hero, Tiberius, MJ Stark, Timber to mention others. We've held contests along the way to get people to introduce characters into the game. That's been done, these have been added. Just to give you a quick overview of what TEW 2013 is, it's basically the latest in a series of games created by Adam Ryland and the gang over at GreydogSoftware.com. I'll put a link below in the video for those who are unfamiliar with that. And basically, the game originally started out as what was known as EWR back in, I think it was around about 2004, and around about that era. It was a bit before my time in the series. I came along around about TEW 2005. And basically you get to take the role of a promotional manager where you get to make decisions such as hirings, firings, booking shows. It causes relationships with talent. It's a very, very in-depth game, which is handy being a text-based simulator. As far as the graphics go, it's character-based models, which is something that I've helped with along the way for the actual game. The game itself comes with its own default universe, which is the Cornellverse. Fantastic as it is, but yeah, the reason behind the Londonverse is I wanted to create something that was my own, a blank canvas where I could kind of let my creativity run wild. I mean, from being a young child, I always wanted to have something to do with the creative side of professional wrestling. And through this game it's allowed me to do that. First of all, just with this setting that you can see in front of you, yesterday I did a test video for this. I made the very amateurish error of wearing a yellow shirt with a yellow wall behind me. It wasn't the best idea, I have to admit, so I've learnt from that mistake today. Unfortunately my hair is not in much of a better condition, hence why I'm still wearing a beanie. And you know, I don't need to shave. This is how I look. I'm not going to fight it. It is what it is. But yeah, so just a quick comment on the video at the moment. You might notice that in the bottom right side of the screen where you're seeing my picture, I'm just using the webcam from my laptop at this time. However, in the future, around about a couple of months' time, you'll notice a significant increase in the quality of the videos because I'll be getting the right equipment to do it. I'll be getting headset for better, clearer microphone so I don't have to use the one that's inbuilt into the system. So you may notice a few loud clicks along the way. Unfortunately at this point that can't be helped, but it is something that will be sorted in the not too distant future. So this, just bear with me for this one. This is the first kind of, treading the waters, testing to see what we can do. Anyway, to get into the data, the Londonverse is 33 promotions, set in 2015. Originally the data was going to be set to start in 2011. Bit of a superficial change. It doesn't affect anything in game itself, but obviously if people are going to play it, they'll want to see something most likely with a 2015 start date. So that was suggested by an individual who has helped me along the way, known as Tiberius. He actually sorted the data out, so everything started with 2015. I haven't gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb at this point, so from what I've seen so far it looks fine. The title histories will need to be sorted out though because of that, because obviously they only went up to 2011, so there's about a 4 or 5 year gap there that needs to be sorted out. But that's not a massive thing, it's something we can look to do later on. And for this episode we'll be looking at the largest promotion in the Londonverse, which is based in America and is the American Wrestling Federation. This is, I believe this is a skin I actually, I didn't make this myself and I'm not claiming to. It's available on the forums. I'll have to find out who exactly created this because it's been a while since I've downloaded it, because ever since I've been working on the Londonverse I've had very little time, or I've allowed myself very little time to actually play the game itself. I've been either doing renders or characters for the game or inputting information such as stats and things like that. But I'm looking forward to getting stuck in here. What I plan on doing is over the number of weeks and however long it takes will be giving you a tour of each promotion, a bit like if any of you are familiar with my work from the forums. I did streaming at one point on Twitch TV. Unfortunately, through no fault of my own, although it might be, I'll let you be the judge, Twitch decided to change their policy, I think it was, and it basically eliminated all the videos that I put on there, and I think there were upwards of 30, most of which went on for a good hour and a half, 2 hours, some of them. This affected a lot of people, such as Wallbanger and Astil, who were streaming TEW at the time. And unfortunately, I didn't have a backup because I streamed directly from the XSplit software that I was using onto Twitch, and I didn't have a backup copy, or if I did, that has been misplaced, unfortunately. So I thought I'd start from scratch. A lot more's happened in the database itself. All the promotions, that 33 that I mentioned previously, have all got fully complete rosters. They've got titles. Most have title history to a certain extent. That's still being an ongoing process that we're working on. So yeah, let's not waste too much time and get stuck into this. This video will probably go on for a considerable length of time. Hopefully it'll at least be entertaining for you. What we'll do is we will not do that, because that is the wrong button. And that has happened there. So we'll maximise that again. Look at this. We're going to work out the kinks in this. I might edit it in the after shop after we've done everything. The after shop. It's not a thing. Just made it up. Let's go with it. So what we'll do is we'll start a new game. Basically, this is for anyone who's unfamiliar with this. It's basically just checking through all the data that's in the game and making sure that there are no conflicting pieces of information that would cause it to not work or load properly. Fortunately, I am an OK mod apparently, because it means that the database is fine at this point. So that's great. As I said, we'll be running a show as the AWF, the American Wrestling Federation. I'll give you a bit of a backstory about the company as we load it. What we'll be doing is we'll just load this, and it will take us to select which character that we want to be going forward. At this present time, we only have 2 characters to choose from. It's there will be more when the initial data is released, but for the purpose of this, we can just be one of the 2 that are available. It's not hugely important at this time, although it does give us the option to be one of the number of characters that are in the main database here. But for the purpose of the video, we'll just go with we've got James Avatar and Nicholas Reyes, in case you're interested. We'll go with James Avatar for now. For user talents, we'll just do an even split, so we'll hit default, so he's not particularly spectacular in any of the available talents, as it's known as. So we've got negotiating, motivating, creativity, leadership, diplomacy. We'll just have him be Mr. Bang Average. There's a hashtag for you. Social media. Right, so we will then, preferences will keep the same. I'm not going to amend anything on there. For anyone who does want to see, I will just quickly load that. So we've got the fog of war, dirt sheets, pay-per-view buy rates emailed to you, all this kind of stuff. That's absolutely fine. We'll keep that for now. And we will hit select. So we'll enter James Avatar into the game, and we will quickly remove Mr. Nicholas Reyes, unfortunately. Sorry, 2K. Okay. Right. As you can see, the default load is to start on the American Wrestling Federation, given their sheer size in the database. You can see a list of the other 33 promotions, or the other 32, not including American Wrestling Federation on the side. We'll get to all of these in the coming days and weeks going forward. For now, I'll give you a brief overview of the AWF. The AWF was basically funded by Adam Sutherland in an attempt to kind of gain his son's affection, because he was a successful businessman in in that realm, not in the sports industry necessarily, or the entertainment industry necessarily, depending on which side of the coin you fall on, but that's not for me to judge. What he's done is basically he created a juggernaut. He saw the success that a promotion which we'll see at a later date, Championship Pro Wrestling, had in the territorial era in the Londonverse. Effectively what the CPW did was it started to expand and reach beyond its territory borders at the time, in much the same way that Vince McMahon Jr. did when he took the realms of the WWE in the late 70s, early 80s, around about that time. Apologies if the date isn't correct. I'm sure someone can correct me in the comments box below. But and what the AWF did was it saw what CPW had done as a company and how it had grown, and they just aggressively attacked the market, because what CPW did was, after they grew to a certain extent, they were content to be the big fish in the small pond. They were going to expand, but only to a certain limit. They kind of put a glass ceiling on where they were going to be. and it was through the AWS financial backing and the way that they changed the industry and how they approach the presentation of professional wrestling, presenting it more as an entertainment side of things, whereas you've got your CPW, which is more your hard-nosed catch-as-catch-can style of professional wrestling, whereas the AWF has a little twist on it, and it proved to be very popular. It basically went from strength to strength, and now whilst CPW didn't go out of business, it's nowhere near the force it once was. And like I said, that's a story for another time. Right now we'll focus on the AWF. Adam Sutherland is still in charge of the promotion at this point in the game. He is getting very, very old. I think he's in his, very old in terms of still being associated with the business. He's in his 70s. His son works for the company, and what he will be doing is most likely taking control of the company shortly after his father retires and goes off into the sunset. He's a little bit old, a little bit shaky, that's to be expected. His son has a different view, only ever so slightly, what the AWF should be going forward, so I think it would be quite interesting if one were to not play as the AWF and see how it progressed. I think he would take it down a slightly different avenue, still keep it entertainment based, but I think he'd have more athletic competitors on the roster. You'll see in the AWF, when I go over the roster with you shortly, that they have very entertaining workers. They have a few good athletes, a few good cruiserweights, and some of the older talents that have been around the block, so they can pass experience on to the younger workers. But yeah, the younger generation has a lot to prove from what I can see. Well, from what I entered into the data, I did this myself. So if you see me, what you'll notice, sorry to segue on this, is you'll see me talk about characters in the game or things that I don't like but have deliberately done in the game, and it seems to be that I've only done that purely to annoy myself. So you'll see that with a few of the characters in the AWF actually. But let's not waste too much time and proceed. Okay. Right, so they opened in 1972. Full-time schedule, as I said, owner Adam Sutherland, Richard Sutherland, his son, is the booker. Size International, the biggest in the gaming world, based out of the Great Lakes in USA. Sports entertainment product, as I already explained. Prestige A, Momentum A, not an alliance, and they've got pay-per-view in USA and Canada. A point which I would like to make at this time, that the AWF usually aggressively expand into Mexico quite early on in the game for pay-per-view buys. Interesting to see how that will play out long term, whether they'll bring in Mexican talent or Latin American talent to try and get in bigger audiences and numbers, because they do have a couple of Mexican competitors on the roster, but they're not big names. So if they want to have like a superstar like the WWE had with Rey Mysterio or Alberto Del Rio, they'll need to look sincerely into getting a top Mexican star if they want to continue with that. The purpose of this video is I'm just going to do a review of the roster at this time, go over the tag team, stables, storylines, titles, and have a look at a bit of the backstage stuff. The next episode will be me booking a show as the AWF. Nothing is planned, you'll see it completely unedited. It will be me flying by the seats of my pants trying to do a bit of booking. And if you have seen any of my previous streams or videos, you will know that there's a good chance of it going horribly wrong. I usually, from the videos I've done, I usually put a pretty good show together, and it goes fantastically up until a wet fart happens in the main event, for lack of a better term. Usually someone in the main event of any show I book, for the purpose of videos, not when I'm playing outside like a child apparently, playing off streaming, or when I'm not shooting a video for it, it goes fine, but for some reason the world comes crumbling down around my feet when I do it for videos. But hey, at least it should be entertaining for you guys, if nothing else. Laughing at my misery. Right, so what we'll do, we'll go for a quick tour actually. We'll go for a quick tour. Who AWF are. So this will give you a quick overview of the promotion, what it's like, and some of the main players that you'll be getting very familiar with when it comes to booking for the promotion. As I said, they have two. Well, I didn't say actually. They have two TV shows. They've got one on Monday night and they've got one on Thursday night. I'll show you those very shortly. They've got Boku money. I don't know if that's the right term. I'm going to go with it because I've said it now. They've got a ludicrous amount of money. And yeah, you're never going to run out on that. Well, you shouldn't do anyway, unless you're the worst player at this game, which I'm not saying I am, but yeah, I have my moments on it. Okay, so here we go. We can see some of the top AWF stars. We've got Richie Platinum, who's actually their current champion, or World Heavyweight Champion. Lawrence Christian, one of the veterans of the roster, a former main eventer, still current main eventer, but he's getting up there in years. Mr. Flawless, he's not based on anyone. There's Mr. Perfect, it's not a thing. It's not a thing. So yeah, no, he's completely original. And you will probably notice that I've leaned on some real world influences as well as some influences outside of professional wrestling. Not for all the characters, but you might certainly be able to draw some comparisons along the way, which I don't think is a bad thing, but that'll be for you guys and girls to decide. We've got Exodus, who's the big monster heel of the promotion. Again, he's getting up there in years, but fearful beyond belief as far as a competitor goes. He's got Menace coming out of his wazoo, which sounds quite painful, to be fair. It sounds like something you need to go to the doctors for. But he gets by with it, so, you know, that's alright. And we've got Patriarch. This is one of the characters I don't like. He is a main eventer. He is actually in a current feud for the title, the World Heavyweight title. I don't know why, but I hate him. Good facial hair, certainly better than this kind of rat's hair that's coming out of my face. But he's just... He just grinds on you as a person. It's not fun. He's not fun. But at the same time, pretty entertaining to book. If only for the fact that it annoys me. And apparently that is one of my most favourite things to do when playing this game is annoy myself. But don't worry, you'll get to learn that along the way if you don't know already. So anyway, we see 5 of their top workers. We'll select owner. We'll let Adam Sutherland walk off into the sunset. As I said, he's got the shakes. He's not able to get porridge into his mouth on a consistent basis without it going all down his chin. So he can go off into the sunset in one of his overseas homes and live the life of Riley. And we'll take control of AWF. Right, let's get this going. Let us maximise the screen once more. Okay, so what we have here is the main website where it comes up with stories, breaking news items. Nothing particularly exciting to see here at the moment. I can click through it for the first time. So we've got Mr. Flawless, an AWF worker, saying that they're basically the bee's knees, the dog's danglies and the cat's pyjamas all rolled into one. Well, that's a gimmick. Okay, we've got... see now, I don't like the negative connotation they've used here. We've got AWF fall to James Avatar, if I can say my own name. Well, his name, which is my name. Don't worry. They fall to James Avatar. Surely it should be me stepping up to the plate. I'm untested, sure. But, give a kid a chance, okay? You don't know what I could do. Yes, the AWF have been wildly successful before I arrived. Could I cripple them financially and, just drive them into the ground like a tent peg? Absolutely. That is part of the fun. But give me a chance, okay? Right. Being amazed. Typical dirt sheets. Not happy about it. Flabbergasted. Yeah, write that down. So we've got LSX, another promotion, looking for a booker. Don't need to worry about that. Giant Sequoia, Mr. Moneybags. It's not his gimmick. Just, he's rich beyond belief. Xerxes, one of the Mexican workers. Big Mexican worker. A bit of a giant. In fact, he is a giant, I think. Story for another time. We'll cover that when we come to the MDL. Right, Lindsay Adorn. Nice render. In fact, they're all nice renders. I would say that, though. I made them. Not all of them are winners, I will say, as far as, looking the part. But, we can't all be as beautiful as my fair self. Right, so what we'll do is we'll have a look at the Backstage Information. And here you can see that I'm the owner. Approval rating, I'm not bothered at this point. But what we'll do, this is basically the central hub for viewing information to do with the company. So as you can see in the bottom left hand side of the screen here, we've got the creative side, management, external, business. It's very, very in depth. I mean, the game truly is fantastic. Regardless of the work I've done on this mod, you've got other mods that are out there, such as the Thunderverse, which is fantastic. It's mind blowing how well that team have done creating that, and the Cornellverse is just got such a rich history, and what you can do for it is absolutely worth the money spent on buying this game. I really do recommend it. Like I said, I'll leave a link below for anyone who's unfamiliar with this product, so you can have a good look at it and see if I think they have demos for people that want to give it a try without making the commitment of paying for it right off the bat. It's definitely worth a look for anyone who's even remotely interested in professional wrestling on any level. Even people outside of that, I've heard stories of people who play the game with their significant other and who have no interest in professional wrestling, but at the same time they've really enjoyed the developing storylines and the little intricacies that make it a really well-rounded game. As you can see tonight, well, where it says here, the next show, AWF Monday Night Superstars, which is the Monday show, it will be airing tonight. In terms of the game world, what that will mean for us is, like I said, after I wrap up this video, I might film the next one almost immediately afterwards. But that will explain why I'm wearing the same clothes. Don't think I'm a dirty tramp. I might look it, I'm not. We will do the other film for later on in the day, and I'll edit them over the weekend to put them up online, hopefully, he says. But anyway, back to the meat and potatoes of what we're getting at here. Let us have a look at the overall roster of the promotion. Here we go. That's old Grandad Sutherland himself. I'm not going to go into too much detail, because where'd be the fun in that for myself or you guys? I'm sure you'd find it relatively entertaining, me whittling away the hours telling you all the ins and outs of each character. But I'll just give a quick overview and how I see them going in the short term and possibly even long term future. As I said with Adam Sutherland, I'll start that one again. With Adam Sutherland, I see him going into retirement fairly shortly, and if it weren't for me taking control of AWF for the purpose of this video, I'd imagine the control of the company would go to his son Richard. He never steps foot in the ring, a bit like Ted Turner, I guess, in that respect, although did he step foot in the ring? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. Comments below if you know otherwise. Right, Aidan Darling, he's one of the cruiserweights in the promotion. Relatively interesting look, although I don't see him doing too much anytime soon. Certainly good to have around the cruiserweight title scene, but I think that might be the ceiling that I would give him, at least in the short term, until I see development of his skill set in general, because he's an enhancement talent as well, so he's pretty much the bottom rung of the ladder in the company, which is saying something, seeing as there are, I believe, 54 active wrestlers, which shows you how big the AWF actually are. We've got AJ Bennett, he's one half of the tag team The Artists. A few interesting lines you might be able to see there in the bio. Tag team wrestling is certainly something that the AWF hasn't neglected in preference to singles wrestling. They don't have a women's division, at least not in this iteration of the data, and it's important, I think, or the AWF think, that tag team wrestling gets its credit for what it can bring to the table as adding to the mosaic that is professional wrestling. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to stick with it because I've said it now. So anyway, we'll move on to Alex Jordan, who's one half of the tag team Air Jordan. Very originally named. Congratulations, me. Face tag team. They're pretty good actually, I do have to say. One of the younger tandems on the roster, so I can see them getting a few runs with the tag team titles, if not breaking out as individuals later on. I'm sure that they will feature at some point in the opening show, or the show that I will book for you later on. Angus McMahon, who's just a big, bruising, hulking Scottish guy. Shout out to Scotland there, who produce a rather large number of these. Yeah, he's a bit of a hoss. He's not overly talented, to be quite honest with you. Not especially young, in his early 30s, so he can improve. He's got the look though, so I think that is mainly what AWF brought him in for. And with a great nickname of the Beef. Can't handle the beef. Moving on to one of the top cruiserweights in the company, and that is Ben Logan. Not the current champion, but a former champion, if my memory serves me correctly. Got a bit of charisma as well, so he's not just able to perform at a high level in ring. He's got kind of the full package, and even though he's only a mid-carder at this point, and given his size, I could see Ben Logan being someone that Richard Sutherland, if given control of the company, would use to a greater effect than what his father has used him for so far. And now we come to the next man. I say, man, that's the polite way of referring to this useless sack of crap. Big Ron Johnson. And as I said earlier, you'll see me have put characters into the game and just... there's something about them I can't put my finger on, but I just don't like them. But then again, you're not supposed to like everyone, are you? Big Ron Johnson, he's just a big hulking... just crap. He's so bad. So bad. No charisma. No charisma. No charisma, and he's not good in the ring. But he's here because he's menacing. And he plays the heavy for Money Inc., which is the stable in AWF headed up by the AWF World Heavyweight Champion, which we'll come to later. Fortunately, he's getting old, so I don't know, might have to give him a knee clip at some point and put him on the shelf indefinitely. And bring in someone of a more useful standard. I mean, the fact that he's main event means that he's going to have to be used on a lot of shows, or a lot of the big shows anyway. And there's only so much negativity you can hide. I mean, I know Paul Heyman was of the opinion that, you know, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. What's the positives here? Except he looks scary. He looks mad. He looks like he would punch his own grandma in the face. That is the kind of look that Big Ron Johnson has. But anyway, I could talk about how much I dislike this guy until I'm blue in the face, but we'll move on. Now here we have Blossom Woods. She was a character that is basically just a backstage announcer, there to kind of interview people, kind of like the Renee Young of WWE. Although I will have to say that with Renee Young being in WWE, I actually put Blossom Woods in the data before that was the thing. Not saying they copied from me, but not ruling it out at the same time. Move on now to Bobby Justice. Very much an 80s inspired character with the police hat in tow. You fight the law, and the law will win, is the motto of this young man. I say young, he's 37. That's 11 years older than myself, so not young at all. He's all right. He's, you know, a likeable guy. He's a brawler, heavyweight, got a good look about him. Near enough to the main event scene. He serves a purpose for, you know, for what he's there for. Can't really hate on the guy, although maybe some people can. Brandon Redman. Acrobatic cruiserweight, but not really much beyond that as far as selling points. I think he was just there on the idea that the cruiserweight needed a relatively competitive scene, and he was there to make up the numbers, to be honest with you. I think he's probably got a lower ceiling than Aidan Darling, who I showed you earlier, as far as cruiserweight competitors go. Could he become more? Sure. Will he if I was booking? Probably not. Probably not. But anyway, move on now to Cole Marriott, one half of the tag team of High Society. We'll see his partner shortly. Basically, just a good solid technician. Decent microphone, actually, to be fair. So not too bad entertainment-wise. Carlos Nathans. He is, again, another cruiserweight competitor. Got a bit of charisma, got an interesting look about him. I put him on the same kind of level as your Aidan Darling as far as potential growth. He was picked from the Tropical Grapple Kingdom, which is the Puerto Rican-based company in the Londonverse at this time. We'll get to them later. Chief Joe Proudfoot, one of the veteran workers who's retired now. He's doing the work of a road agent. You need a few of them in a company of the AWF size. Pretty good fundamentals as far as being able to put a match together with psychology and the basics. So that's why he's there in AWF, to help the youngsters construct matches for those that aren't able to do so of their own volition. Now, one of my favourite characters of the game, and I think a lot of people's favourite character of the game, or will be favourite character of the game, is Mr. Chocolate Daddy, inspired by a film that some of you may have seen. He's one half of the tag team champions packed with flavour with Vanilla Thunder. Very charismatic guy, getting a bit up there in years. He's in his mid-30s at this point. Certainly not over the hill by any stretch of the imagination, unless he appears in the time decline list, which would be gutting. Managed to draw a very bland worker in Vanilla Thunder, I believe his original name is Sam Patton, to a decent level, and he's just a fun guy to be around. Because I've obviously been around this computer character, it's not possible. It's not possible, Scott. You live in a fantasy world. Wake up. And we'll move on now to Chris Sinclair. He's the third man of the commentary team, or not at all used, depending on how you want to look at it. He's behind Howard Oakland and Daniel Harding as the top two play-by-play guys. Nothing really too much to say about him, to be quite honest, but I believe he'll be filling the boots of Howard Oakland when he eventually hangs up the microphone or the headset, whatever it may be. Move on now to Mr. Cory Decks. Now, Cory Decks is one of my favourite characters personally in the AWF. He's in the Cruiserweight division as it currently stands. Fantastic gimmick, nerdy with the bow tie, glasses. I imagine him to be doing his promos backstage just talking about very convoluted theorems, whether it be mathematical, science-based, or even just quoting great literature and it going completely over everyone's head, borderline making sense. And I think it's just a fantastic heel and someone that could be a very good face if given the chance. Now, I certainly see him holding the Cruiserweight title at some point, and perhaps even see him going further up the card depending on how he's able to develop his skills. Go to Daniel Harding, one of the original AWF superstars who headlined their biggest pay-per-view showcase of the Immortals. We've got a few of those kind of characters floating around in the database. These are being added as we go along, so you'll see more historical workers gets put into the data for lineage and just a greater depth. Like an onion, just peeling back the layers. That's what we're doing. Fantastic colour commentator. Thank you for all the service he put for the AWF. He's almost kind of got a job for life with this, to be quite honest, which is deserved for what he put into the company when he was an active worker. We've got Danny Washington. Very family friendly, backwards American flag on one of his lenses. It's the style these days. You tell him not to wear that. He's going to do what he likes because he's Danny Washington. Okay, not bad, not particularly great. Classed as a main eventer, although I don't think that's warranted. I think he should be plummeted a bit further down the card, possibly the mid card. I wouldn't even put him up the mid card, to be quite honest with you. But he's got a relationship with Patriarch of one of tag team, I think, and I think that's probably helped him get to the level he is. Although God knows how Patriarch, you can't carry a purse, let alone another worker, to anything resembling a decent match. So, but he's managed to grab Danny Washington, bring him all the way up to a bit of relevancy. Move on now to Davey Dollar, one half of the tag team, the Millionaires Club. We'll see his partner shortly, Joey Cash, feuding with the current AWF Tag Team Champions. Good feud, good feud. Got Denzel Flair, not a bad cruiserweight, to be sure, he's one of the better ones. I'd put him slightly higher up on the ranking or the pegging system than Aidan Darling and the likes of your Brandon Redmonds, but I wouldn't put him quite on Cory Decks' level. Leroy Snyder, we'll see later, I would put him on the Cory Decks level. Relatively, 31 years old, it can go either way for him at this point. Whether he'll get to the main event scene, it's yet to be said. Derek Boardman. Now this is a gimmick that I think is quite interesting. The People's Lawyer, a face lawyer gimmick. Now if anyone can make it work in professional wrestling, my money's on Derek Boardman. Why? Because I put it in the data that he does so. Whether he does it on a long-term basis, I can't vouch for, but it's certainly something different. You don't see that every day. Desean Jones, an athlete that turned to professional wrestling. He's also one of the younger potential breakout stars of the future. Have to see, because he's not exceptional at this point, but he's got room to improve. And if you put him in a feud with a guy who's further up the card, he might be able to come good. If you put him in there with the likes of Lawrence Christian or Mr. Flawless, he has to improve. He has to improve from going in the ring with those kind of individuals. Devin McGrady, rapper gimmick, got a bit of an edge, which is rare in the AWF. I'd imagine his promos to be borderline, broadcastable, if that's a word. Yeah, I don't know what I would do with him, if I'm being perfectly honest, as far as the AWF. I think I'd have him just challenging morality of the baby faces and going from there, seeing where it leads. We have Mr. Eric Steppenwolf, a veteran of the cruiserweight scene. I think that is probably as good as he'll ever get in the AWF. He hasn't really got the... Not that he hasn't got the skills, because he does, to be a main eventer, but not in a company like AWF as far as I'm concerned. Multiple-time cruiserweight champion, and I think he's actually got the record for the AWF. Exodus. Now this is the Monster Heel. Unfortunately 40 years of age means that his time might not be long for the top. But fortunately we do have a younger monster in the promotion who we'll see very briefly in Oblivion. What we will do here. And it's also, I believe they were teasing the feud of Exodus taking on Oblivion when Exodus comes back from injury, as Oblivion was the one who put him on the shelf. Or at least in storyline terms, that is what happened. Gareth Logan, the cousin of Ben Logan, but worse in every respect to be fair, but probably just got the job because Ben Logan's such a good hand for them. It makes up the numbers, to be quite honest with you, but you know, someone could turn him into something useful, or halfway decent at least. Hector Garrido, this is one of the Mexican workers I was telling you about that the AWF have signed up relatively long time ago in the attempt to kind of bring in the Latin American markets, you know, to have one of their own, you know, get to the big time. In an interesting twist, actually, the LLLL, which is the biggest company in Mexico in the game, they actually brought in some of the AWF's cruiserweights in a reverse kind of talent poaching, which we'll see shortly. He's one half the tag team Los Mexicanos. Hollywood Monroe is one of my favourite characters in the promotion, if not the game. One half of the tag team, the A-listers. He's got the look, he's young enough to improve. I would eventually be pushing him all the way to the main event scene, whether as part of a tag team or not. I just think he's got what it takes to go all the way. Howard Oakland, as I said, the lead commentator, been around for many a moon, and yeah, the AWF have a lot to be thankful for his legendary calls on their shows. James Avatar, myself, we don't need to go into detail on that. Jewel is the manager of the AWF World Heavyweight Champion. There's quite a detailed backstory on her. I won't go into too much of it at this point, but if you can see on the channel itself, you'll see my logo and banner is based on a fantastic poster that was created by a forum member on the Greydog Software forums, Yoshida. Unfortunately, I don't know the gentleman's real name, but it's just a fantastic piece of artwork that he provided for me. I think it was about 2012, late 2012 I'll say, and it's just a big hats off to him, because I couldn't produce anything anywhere near as good as that with pen and paper, but fortunately I've got talent in the model creating side of things with the characters that we can see here, such as Joe White, who's a little bit bland, associated with Mr. Flawless, although he's kind of, it reminds me not in the exact same way, but the way that you had the $1 Million Man and Virgil, kind of belittling him, not in the type of thing like master and, you know, kind of worker, not master and worker, that sounds very borderline, employer, employee, but he's kind of just, Joe White gets belittled by Mr. Flawless, and hopefully that will, you know, simmering tension will build up to a feud that pays off and gives Joe White some breakout recognition of his own, because otherwise I think he would drown in AWF as far as the other competitors. There's nothing that really sticks out for him. Joey Cash, one half of the tag team, the Millionaires Club. We saw his partner Davey Dollar not too long ago. Decent worker, one of the veterans of the tag team scene in the AWF. Speaking of veterans of the tag team scene, we move on to Jonathan Gregory, one half of the tag team High Society, veteran. Quite often we'll find him on time decline list, which isn't too surprising given his age. He's near enough 40, but fantastic for what he does. The tag team chemistry of being in High Society is A-star, so you get very good matches out of the tag team division in the AWF, which is always helpful. Joshua Roode, pet project of the AWF. He graduated the AWF Academy, and as such, he's been pushed more than he ought to have been. We'll say he's not the best in any shape or form. He's got the look with his funky facial hair, tattoos, you know, kind of clean cut shave, clean cut hair anyway, and he's been getting pushed to the moon as a result of it. I say that he is only classed as a lower mid-carder, but given that he's still very young in the business, I really do think that AWF, if Richards or Adam Sutherland has his say, would see Joshua Roode in the main event scene within the next few years, and that doesn't strike me as being the smartest decision unless he gets significantly better in all facets, and I mean every facet of the business. And Justin Roxdale, he's kind of in the middle. He's not, even though he's got class as a main eventer as far as push, I wouldn't say he's quite on that level. He's not far off it, and for a 28-year-old, I think that's a great position to be. He's grown beyond the cruiserweight division, and I don't know if I would say the television championship is just below him, but I think he's kind of falls in an unfortunate area. So he can kind of feud with either side of the the main events or the upper mid carders, which kind of presents a lot of opportunities, which is good. But for the immediate future, it's very difficult to see exactly what one would do with it. But that's the fun of it. Lance Williams. Graduated the House of the Dawn, which is a wrestling school in the Londonverse, which is headed up by Gregory Adorn. We'll see him later on. Not in the AWF, but we'll see him later on. Producing talent across the world, very much in the vein of Stu Hart and the Hart Dungeon, based in Canada, which is also where the House of the Dawn is based. Producing talent like Lance Williams, not particularly charismatic, but just an absolutely fantastic technical wrestler. And it's seen him get all the way to the AWF, and he even has a manager in Maria Lambeau, who we'll see shortly, who was actually part of one of the contests, the aforementioned contest that I noted earlier, about AWF Your Voice and the creating a manager to see who would get into the AWF, the biggest promotion in the Londonverse. Basically what I did was I had, I think it was 16, well, I let everyone on the forums put an entry, and then we whittled it down to 16. Those 16 I then rendered, created the picture for the character for, and we had on the forums like a weekly situation where we'd have them either go up against each other or put a promo forward based on the topic we would give them, and based on that we would eliminate them one by one. Or the original thing was 16 whittled down to 8, because they went one-on-one, and the winner was chosen by myself and other members of the team, and compared with that of what the general community thought, and we kind of conflated the results and then whittled it down to 8. Then it went right the way down to the final few, who I believe 2 of which work for the AWF. One of them is assigned one of the workers, and that's Maria Lambeau, I believe she won. And another one of the characters, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but we will see him in a moment. He was put in the company but unaffiliated with any worker at this time. And we move on now to Lawrence Christian, 41 years old, a superstar in terms of the company, just with basics in psychology just oozing out of him. Chain wrestling's very good, mat wrestling's very good, brawling's very good. One of the best that AWF have got of this generation, if not of all time, potentially. Leroy Snipe. Now this I mentioned earlier, he is one of my favourite cruiserweights in the company. I could see him again progressing beyond this into bigger and better things along the way. We'll have to see how we go, because I believe he starts in the cruiserweight title feud off the bat, so that's the first port of call. Might even give him the title, see how it goes. Lucien Von Flew, the other half of the tag team The Artist, with AJ Bennett, who we saw earlier, another one to bulk up the tag team division. Luke Showboat, not based on anyone in particular, but a veteran worker who was one of the headliners in the early showcase of the Immortals and pay-per-views that the AWF put together. Now he's a road agent, very good at that, as you can see, psychology 96, basics 100, the perfect general as far as constructing a match with people, and well deserved that is. Apparently Yoda was taking control of me for that sentence. And we'll move on now to a more interesting tag team gimmick put together, the Armed Forces of Badass, and this is Major Awesome. We'll see Sergeant Extreme later. Do not worry, I will not let you down. Over the top gimmicks, but it's fun, the crowd like it. I can even see it being a decent heel team should that be required, but he is getting a bit old, as is his tag team partner. Malaki Namulu. Now he is one of the tag team members of Sons of Samoa, Sons of legendary Samoan workers in the database. Without sounding too harsh, it kind of just fills a need in the promotion. Not for diversity as far as ethnicity, just the fact that we needed tag teams, and that's how Malachi Namulu found his way all the way to the AWF alongside his brother, who we'll see momentarily. Mark O'Keelon, promised I wouldn't swear in this opening video, is the dregs of the AWF. There is not one redeemable quality about him, apart from the fact he probably has good conditioner for his hair. Beyond that, he has no value to me whatsoever. And yet I thought, do you know what would be a good idea? Sat myself down and said, when I was looking at the AWF as a grand picture, you know, looking at what I wanted to do with the roster, I thought, do you know who would make a good television champion? And the thought came to me, Mark O'Keelon. And I went, yeah, I hate the guy, let's do that for him. And then I'll be forced to do something with him, as opposed to fire him out of a cannon into the local, I don't care what it is, building, you know, dynamite field, because that's a thing now. Just get rid of him, useless. But at the same time, he is not the most useless person on the roster, and that is so alarming, I can't even begin to tell you. We'll see this gentleman shortly. Marcus Gomez, it's not this guy. He is the other half of Los Mexicanos, with Hector Garrido. Nothing to write home about, but, you know, again, filling a kind of need for Mexican talent in the promotion. Marcus Steele, now this is one of the kind of shooters of the, well, in fact his nickname is the Canadian Shooter. Veteran worker, 46 years of age, just very good technical wrestler, able to pass on his knowledge onto the next generation, so he's very much needed in the AWF, although I don't think he'll be much longer for the active wrestling scene given his age. As mentioned earlier, Maria Lambeau, or Lambeau, depending on how you want to say that. Lambeau it could be for all I know. Yeah, she is the manager of Lance Williams, who is very bland, as I said, but she's got a bit of fire in her that kind of adds a new dimension to his character, which I think was very clever. I like the way that the promos were constructed by the individual that put Maria Lambeau into the game, or into the competition, and it was a very close contest, but she was the winner of it, and well deserved, I think. We have Mark Elbridge, a veteran African American worker, one of the first of his race to get to the big time on professional wrestling, and for that he's widely loved and revered for what his contributions are. And not only that, but he's a fantastic psychologist. Not psychologist as in sitting in the back and tell me how do you feel, but being able to put a match together with the consistency, basics. Similar kind of vein to the Luke Showboats of the world. Of this world, anyway. Mr. Flawless, wrestling god, I think is the only way to term him. Just a master technician, able to do whatever he wants. Main eventer through and through. Unfortunately, he is 40, so his better days are behind him. But just a magnificent, magnificent force in the ring. Now, Oblivion, the monster pup. That would be a terrible nickname for him. I don't know why I've even suggested that. But Oblivion's basically the young monster of the company, not too far behind Exodus, but he's you know going to do really well, I think, in the long run, very well. Okay, so what we're doing now is we'll move on to Ollie Midnight. We're getting there, 54 wrestlers through in the company, so it's taken a while, but we are getting there. We are in the bottom half now, certainly. Ollie Midnight. Mental character, hailing from Space Station 13. I don't know what I'd do with him. Probably some interesting, backstage skits and a few matches. Probably get him squashed a few times by the likes of Oblivion and Exodus. But interesting. See how he develops. Not writing him off like I am certain other people. People. Mark O'Keelon, I'm looking at your stupid ass. Not looking at your ass. Looking at you. You're stupid. You're stupid. So we move on now to from one dire bit of commentary to the next. Patriarch. Everyone loves him. It's great. Don't care. Do not care. Main event storyline as well. It's a shame. It's just a massive shame. But other people might like him more than I do. Hopefully other people like him more than I do. But then again, if you don't, that's your prerogative. You can do as you wish with the characters in the data. I don't really want to talk about him too much, to be quite honest. He is what we call the wet fart, or I term the wet fart, because when I did my last video, which was the AWF back in 2013 most likely, he was the reason that the main event tanked. And I didn't have a massive problem with him before that, but he was the first person that really annoyed me with his in-ring performance on the day. So we'll move on. Philip Adorn, one of the sons of Gregory Adorn, just as you can imagine, great technician, very young as well for the promotion at 27, so I see a very bright future for him, but he falls into a similar kind of category as the Justin Roxdales, where he's classed as a main eventer, but he's not quite on that level, but he's probably above the television title level, although he is actually in the immediate feud for that title. I do see good things for him though in the future. Pimpmaster T, all kind of character. Not particularly great in the ring, but he's got the gimmick and he can talk the talk. Part of the tag team, the A-listers, with one of my favourite workers, Hollywood Monroe, who we saw earlier. Prince Jagadev, the idea being kind of sculpted Indian god, kind of better than thou, get out of the way. That kind of gimmick is what we've got for Prince Jagadev, which is interesting for the promotion, although he is on the enhancement talent level, so it'd be difficult to try and get him built up pretty quick. But anyway, we'll see how things go for that. Right, Ray Bell, another one of the grinders, much like the Marcus Still character we saw earlier. 43 years old, just pretty decent in terms of psychology, mat wrestling, and he uses that to kind of teach others. So if you ever had like a development territory for the AWF, which they do, he's the kind of person I could see doing a bit of training down there at some point. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the referees. We've got referee Alan Resley Sr. and Mark Flower. Richie Platinum, the AWF World Heavyweight Champion and former CWE Heavyweight Champion, I believe. CWE being the second biggest promotion in the company, so it was quite a major coup for the AWF to actually take him away, and they made him champion, and now he's arguably one of the bigger names, if not the biggest name in the database at this current time. Very good all-rounder, he can do it all, he can carry most people to a decent match, and he's got the gimmick. Richard Sutherland, the son of Adam Sutherland, originally the booker, although courtesy of me putting myself in the data as James Avatar for this game, he's pretty much going to be a bit useless. I might bring him in as a authority figure at some point because he's got pretty good microphone and charisma. Star quality of 89, I think it's just because he's been, had time to go into the gym. I think that might be a little bit of an inflated stat, but we'll leave it as it is for now. Ricky Albert, that was the runner-up of the AWF Your Voice competition. And he is also... oh no, I tell a lie. Earlier, I said that he wasn't actually affiliated with any workers, but he is in fact the tag team manager of Air Jordan. I remember the final between the two of Ricky Albert and Maria Lambeau being very close. And I think that's why I gave them both the spot in the company with workers under charge at the same time. Riley Jordan, speaking of which, is the brother of Alex Jordan, and that is the tag team Air Jordan, as managed by Ricky Albert. River Phillips, the other transitional sports superstar, formerly an American footballer, now turned to pro wrestling, 30. Possibly got a future, whether it's AWF I don't know. Now this is the guy. This guy right here. Worthless. I mean as a human being, I mean as a professional wrestler, I mean as a render, it's not even a great render. I mean his ears are like stapled to his head or something like that. It's not a good look. Not a good look. And I know about not being a good look. He's got no talent. And he's also a bit of a piece of crap backstage as well. Just woe. Woe is Kirkham. Woe is Kirkham. So, having said that, I'm going to push him, obviously. He will take over the world. St. Lazarus, possibly... Yeah, no, I will say it. He is my favourite manager in the game. Very kind of sinister, a bit like James Mitchell, as a real-world equivalency. Manages Oblivion, the young monster in the company, and does a very good job of doing it. Sarah Bauer, just the manager of Justin Roxdale, high school sweethearts, all very lovey-dovey and Simu Namalu, who's the brother of his brother, which is convenient, Also the son of his mother and the grandson of his grandfather. So it all lines up. The family tree it works fine. He's again part of the tag team division, filling his role fairly well, fairly adequately. Sergeant Extreme, the other half of the Armed Forces of Badass, great character. Sherman Tank, big lovable goof, very physically intimidating, but you know it's entertaining as hell. Is it? Yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. I think I bigged him up a little bit too much there. I tried to, you know, kind of put him out there as a decent character to have, and then I really overshot the target of what I should have done. He's alright. He's okay. Vanilla Thunder, one half of the tag team champions alongside Chocolate Daddy, packed with flavour. On his own, he'd probably sink like a brick, to be quite honest, but with Chocolate Daddy, you know, you've always got that kind of bit of charisma, which kind of covers up the miserableness that is Vanilla Thunder. Sam Patton, I was right. Well done, me. And finally, the last gentleman on the roster is Xavier York Christopher, your Cruiserweight champion. Very flippy-floppy, but also he does everything well. So he's not just able to hit like the spectacular moves, he can back it up with charisma, with the look. And he was also a suggestion from Richard Sutherland to his father, so you can probably get a sense of where Richard Sutherland would take the company if he's bringing in the likes of XYK. And anyway, that brings us to the end of the roster. We will quickly have a look at the storylines briefly. As I said, I've already mentioned these, but we have the Keylong, Adorn, Boardman feud over the television title. We have the tag team title feud packed with flavour against the Millionaires Club. Platinum versus Patriarch for the AWF World Heavyweight title. And all the dates of these storylines will need to be changed, or maybe not. They'll be changed, I'm sure. And XYK versus Snide for the Cruiserweight title. So all the titles have a starting storyline for people to get their teeth sunk into. We will now quickly have a look at the titles. Now the titles, again, Cruiserweight title, all these renders for the titles were provided by Mr. MJ Stark. Fantastic belt renderer, for my money the best that the community has to offer. No offence to anyone else, but that's just how highly I rate his work. Television title, we have the world title and the tag team title. Have a quick look at the tag teams. As we've said, we've got Air Jordan, we have A-List Pimping, so not the A-listers, A-List Pimping, I did fudge that title earlier, apologies. Armed Forces of Badass, High Society, Los Mexicanos, Packed with Flavour, Sons of Samoa, the All-American Patriots, the Artists, the Millionaires Club and the Standouts. So very rich tag team division in the AWF. And we've got the one stable of Money Inc., which I touched on earlier, with Big Ron Johnson playing the muscle, Davey Dollar and Joey Cash as the tag team. You've got Richie Platinum as the World Heavyweight Champion and Jewel as the manager and mouthpiece. Although Richie Platinum can do a job of that as well, as can the tag team. It's just Big Ron dog crap that's the problem here. And the final thing we will look at is the creative meeting. So we've got franchise players, basically the guys that can the company hangs their hat on. Patriarch made the list, that's sad. Mr. Flawless, Lawrence Christian, Chocolate Daddy, Richie Platinum, all four of them I fully agree with. Patriarch, I probably would have had Exodus there. That would be my decision, but then again, things happen for a reason, allegedly. Next big things, Hollywood Monroe, Alex Jordan, AJ Bennett. It's quite fortunate actually, because in the original test video I ran for this, Alex Jordan was the only thing on the next big things list, but we've got Hollywood Monroe, that's ideal for me if I was doing this game long term. AJ Bennett is an intriguing one, but Hollywood Monroe is nice to see on there. Hot prospects, again, Hollywood Monroe, Desean Jones, Ollie Midnight, interestingly, Alex Jordan and Joshua Rude. About what I would expect, I'd maybe have Leroy Snyder isn't really a hot prospect, looks like he'd be 34, I think he is. Anyway, talk the talk. We've got Patriarch, Chocolate Daddy, St. Lazarus, Richie Platinum and Daniel Harding. I'd expect that. Showstoppers, Lawrence Christian, Mr. Flawless, Richie Platinum, Justin Roxdale and Xavier York Christopher. Ring Generals, Mr. Flawless, Lawrence Christian, Richie Platinum, Xavier York Christopher and Marcus Steele. I'm surprised that Xavier York Christopher's on these lists, or this list in particular I should say. Now the Who's Hot and Who's Not does randomise significantly. on a game-by-game basis, but we'll just see for the purpose of this who is hot. Fortunately, oh, that's good. The AWF champion Richie Platinum and Oblivion are on the list, as well as the tag team champion Chocolate Daddy, Mr. Flawless, and Danny Washington. Very nice. Who's not? Lance Williams, Joshua Rude, Eric Steppenwolf, Gareth Logan. I can deal with that. And time decline, Marcus Still, Lawrence Christian, and Sergeant Extreme. A pretty short list actually. Exodus being 40 years old isn't on this. That's great. Very quickly, can look at the hidden gems. We just see some of the characters that are in the game world that could be signed by the AWF. Obviously, I'm still adding to this at this point in time. But that is pretty much it for this video. What we'll be doing in the next video is I'll be booking a show as the AWF. Thank you everyone for watching the first of what will be hopefully a very long journey for both TEW, and later on I'll be getting into other games like the big blockbuster titles when my equipment gets suitable for purpose. We'll be having the likes of FIFA, you know, the Call of Duties, those games of the world. Want to really get this channel off the ground, so if you could do me a massive favour of liking this video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe for more. I've been Scott B Gaming. I'll see you soon.